My Chinese pros actually look pretty damn good, just not quite able to close it out, but he has a couple of cool little touches that we'll talk about soon. But up first, we're going to talk about the man who has made it to the semi-finals twice of the season finals, has never made it to a grand final, has never won a season finals. This is our French Team Liquid Terran player, Clem.
Bottom left-hand side of the map from Good Game Gaming, a new Chinese representative, it is Cyan.
Clem, together with Trap and Special, the only player to make it to every single season final so far. I think that's a cool little achievement.
Yeah, that's a real sign of consistency, right? Where everyone else has had that one bad season and it can go wrong. You know, to be fair, Clem's also had those moments where, you know, he lost to Marine Lord, he's in that lower bracket, and he has to play Rain Order qualify through. You know, it happened twice, right? And he has shown up when it comes to it, and he's gotten the job done to make sure he is here season after season for the finals.
Yep. So what do we expect from Cyan? Cyan is a Protoss that's really hard to compare to anyone else out there that perhaps a lot of the viewers are a bit more familiar with. I actually do think a little bit of Zest because he is scrappy, he can be reckless, but he also has a very different mid-game. And there is one thing that really stands out to me for Cyan is that he's willing to cut some probes earlier to just stabilize, and then a little bit later he goes into double robo. But while almost every single Protoss out there will make Colossus first to stabilize and then go Disruptors to win, he makes Disruptors first to get ahead, and then makes Colossus after the Disruptors to potentially close it out. I think that's kind of funny because he's one of the very few Protosses out there that does it like that.
Definitely a little bit backwards to what we are usually expecting as Clem this game opens that reactor first, so he's going to get a lot of Marines really quickly here. Very possibly he adds on just additional barracks behind this and really, you know, gets up to the high bio count quickly, a dangerous 3 racks push, something along those lines to start us out. As of course both are expanding quick, we're not going to see any of that one base aggression right away, like you kind of mentioned. It is something that's been very popular amongst the Terrans lately.
But I'm happy to see Clem not doing that here.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if he wants to bust out a one base opening, keep his opponent in the dark, do it against Zest in maybe the upper bracket match or do it in the playoffs, even though that didn't work out that well last season against Sparting, but you know, save those special builds for a bit later. I think against Cyan, Clem can play relatively face up and he'll be alright. Just because the execution of Clem is in general so good, he is so quick, and even when you know what's coming, it's still gonna hit you like a tornado and you're just not quite ready for it.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get the bunker going down, it is a factory on the follow-up from Clem as well, so you'll have a high Marine count, then the option to put the factory on the reactor or to just build up a tech lab, as he should be getting a starport along the way too. And that's how we settle down for now as Blink comes up from Cyan, and he will just have this one adept keeping track of the Marine count, trying to see if he can spot anything beyond those Marines building. All he knows for now is that the barracks is still pumping out Marines 2 at a time.
You know, the funny thing about a group like today is that yes, you're leaning towards Clem, of course we're leaning towards Zest, but if Neeb would make it out over any of these two, it'd be a surprise, but not the craziest thing ever. But if there is any group that Cyan could possibly make it out, like if you put him in a group with Dark, Rogue and Marine Lord, I'm like, I'm sorry mate, you're just not gonna make it out. Today is one of these days where if Cyan plays his absolute best, he actually has a chance, and that makes it very interesting.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I like this group for him a lot as we see these Marines trying to get a Stalker. Battery is done in a moment. Can we get one Stalker first? Yes, we can, and into the main.
Couple
means
probes.
He's just going to be running away from there and get a couple probes, 2, 3. Let's see what he gets. He gets the one that was low HP for a moment. He needs a target fire.
Like, 4 maybe, man.
Wow.
He's already getting 3. If he gets 1 more, that'd be absolutely fantastic. That's not going to be the case, but I still take a pretty alright start here for Clem, especially because he got the Stalker. I mean, Stalkers ain't cheap, buddy.
Yeah, the Adept went down across the map. That's what killed a couple SCVs here as well. So, a little bit of a trade-out, but yeah, getting rid of the Stalker. There's a Blink opening on the map. I'd say you take it, right? A few Marines missing isn't so bad. And we head straight into that Raven as well. So, Clem making sure DT is not going to be a major issue, and of course, that really powers up your mid-game push as well.
I was wondering if Cyan was going to expand or if he was going to take his gases, but it seemed like he just wants to go up to 3 bases, and he actually takes the triangle expand in PvT, not something we see all the time, to say the least.
Yeah, usually that's kind of the Terran's expansion, right? You push forward from there, you kind of go for that. You know, this is really annoying because if the Terran has a good position on 3rd and you got to deal with that, boom, you jump into the main base, and then the Protoss is super out of position. You can't do that with the bottom side 3rd, so very interesting from Cyan. Intrigued to see what approach he maybe takes to ensure that that will not be a problem for him.
I almost feel that the only thing you can really do while you play like this is just stay very defensive, get multiple observers. He already has the second one on the way. And then just try to defend with blink, 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 get maybe one forge, and then go into the double rope. But if I think of what he likes to do as well, this is a nightmare to defend with Disruptors, by the way. If you have Disruptors on the low ground and then he does pick up and he goes into the main base, what are you Disruptors going to do? All the way to walk all the way up to the main? Instead, it's going to be a Templar Archive. So Cyan is really going to switch things up here. Maybe a bit inspired by some of the things that Trap was doing yesterday. Those High Templars are becoming a bit more popular again, and he's actually firing up charge as well.
That's Raven. Wants to get the Observer. The auto-turn needs a target fire, and it gets the Observer. So good target fire from Clem, as the Stalkers were there to try and protect it, but just not soon enough. One SCV out the front will unfortunately go down. Cyan just keeps an eye on what is happening. Of course, we're ticking ever closer to Stimpack being finished, and that's always going to be a point at which maybe Clem pushes, maybe he'll wait for Combat Shield and +1. His Medivacs, they'll be on the way soon. So getting set up for that, but of course, Cyan, all of those gateways, getting the charge up. Yeah. He's going to be ready to deal with it with a swell of gateway units.
I don't hate it, what Cyan is doing at this point, but I feel like it's all going to come down to that first move out of Clem, right? If Cyan is able to land 1 or 2 very juicy storms, and I'm not talking about softening up some units, no, straight up killing the Marines with the storm, then I think he's going to be in a mighty fine spot, and especially the counter has a lot of potential. If it's going to be a trade, then I actually don't like it that much, because he's putting himself in a weird spot where he's going to be all in, even though he's the one with a 15 worker advantage, but we've got no Forge, we've got no Robo-Bay, and Zealot, Stalkers, and High Templars are great, but if Clem's army goes above, let's say, 70, 80 army supply, I have a hard time believing that Cyan can get the job done with 0-0 gateway units.
That's another dead Stalker. Now he recalls them home because he's not happy the position they are in, so that's your recall gone already. Getting the extra Zealots warped in. Of course, the Storm's looking to buy you time, then get the Zealots charging forward, but Clem's going to be able to get a tank set up here.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see what Cyan can do.
And this is where, once more, the drop into the main is a very real possibility, even if it's just 8 Marines. A couple of Zealots go forward immediately. First Storm looks promising, but actually didn't do a whole lot there. And Clem has a pretty big army. I think that tank wants to get a little bit closer. We do at least have a battery overcharge available. If the fight goes long enough, maybe even 2 of them. But Widow Mine's getting set up. I'm pretty worried here for Cyan, because I feel like the best you can get here are decent storms, but I don't think you're going to get the best storms ever.
That's a really early super battery, right? I mean, popped already. Now Clem is going to have a long time, a full minute to deal damage. And this Raven's already coming through. The storms are always on the Marauders, and there's just not enough Marauders to justify it. It's a lot of Zealots, though, and the Marines will kite out to the right side with their upgrade. Not letting the storms hit. He hits his own units with the storms, and now Clem's going to be kiting into reinforcements, and that's where Cyan needs to start really thinking about turning this around.
Yeah, I'm with you, especially because we don't have a Prism here either, I believe. Does pick up one of the Widow Mines, the other Widow Mine is going to fire, and at least will get taken out too. In the end, not all that bad, and if Cyan spends all of his money, then he actually has a pretty monstrous army. But I do want to see him increase the quality of his army a little bit. There's the double Forge, but by the time that his first upgrades are done, Marty, we're going to be like 10 minutes in.
Yeah, his upgrades are so late here, and it just means that Clem's army, especially against Zealots and stuff, going to start trading fantastically. A couple of Zealots were running here. I am terrified for Cyan. He does not have a lot in that army. There's no reinforcements at all. He's super reliant on hitting like 2 storms. And that's all he can really do. I mean, Clem's looking, he's like, I'm pretty sure I can fight this.
Yeah, it almost feels like a bluff here, what Cyan is doing. He's like, hey man, I'm like really ready to attack. Cyan does land a couple of storms, but once more, it's mostly Marauders, and he's not killing the units. He's softening them up. And that's great in, okay, you're going to survive, because Clem obviously won't stim forward anymore. But you don't really get a whole lot of value out of storms like that. And it's very important that Cyan has some vision somewhere on the map to potentially see this double drop coming, because if this double drop shows up in the main, it's actually going to get pretty gnarly.
Yeah, he looks as though he's just going to stim into the 4th base as well. I mean, even just getting that cancelled up and slowed down is not going to be pretty, although Cyan is starting to move over here. Obviously, maybe that's where Clem needs to get some pressure out the right side, draw him away. This Zealot, at least, is going to figure this out. So goodbye, Cyan. Yeah. Putting some information on the map for himself, and that's really important to gather.
He's playing a solid game so far. I would like to see him move this Observer a bit further north, because now you already have vision there because of your Nexus anyway. It's obviously going to be hard to always keep track of the army of Clem, but if Cyan can just land 1 or 2 very juicy storms, and then maybe some Zealots can actually sneak into the middle line, it's pretty good. Clem throws down the scan, and he knows about this War Prism, and there's always a good chance that we're going to have a couple of High Templars in that Prism. Widow Mines, good job by Clem splitting them out a little bit.
Yeah, this is really bad. These first few Zealots just getting massacred by the mines, and then there's a couple of storms where I feel like Cyan doesn't even quite know where he wants to put them. That storm is just going to kill one Widow Mine. But then what are you going to do about the bio, Cyan? He is bringing the rest of his units back, but Clem just getting good trades throughout. Again, a storm at Clem. He just ran back into it, otherwise he might have kept even more units alive again.
Yeah, that was a nice storm though, because finally we at least reduced the unit count. That's 4 or 5 Marines gone. They're not going to show up here for a little while. This is still that moment where Clem has those 1-1 upgrades, Cyan does not. Cyan is building 2 more Robots, by the way, and a Robo base, so he's going to be a triple Robo Protoss. Told you he's got some Zest vibes.
Yeah, a little bit funky, and well, the thing as well is that he's going to catch up on upgrades, right? Because Clem couldn't start 2-2, didn't get his armory for a long time, favoring those ghosts a little bit. So something else to look at is that storm again, just a bit preemptive. We've seen that a few times. It's hitting his own units. That's a great EMP to start us off over here, splitting off from those storms. I mean, the storms are enough to cover it though. He had to use a lot of them.
Stormy weather, another very early battery overcharge. He does kind of do that. This time he's going to fire up the first 2 Colossus before Disruptors, and I'm happy to see it, because you already have the splash damage with the High Templar, so going Disruptors here would be a bit silly. Cyan is honestly doing a pretty decent job. The only thing that he hasn't really done yet is deal economic damage or really win a fight. But he's doing an amazing job and just hanging in there. He's building 3 Colossus at a time, Wardy.
I mean, that's something which if he shows up with 3 Colossus, all of a sudden, Clem doesn't really have much of an answer to that. He needs to have an army that can deal with those, and yeah, that is not on the map right now. Cyan starting his 2-2 upgrades as well, just in sync with Clem. And yeah, I start to worry for Clem, who's been playing this kind of split your army, tap in here and there kind of mode, but he needs something bigger and better right now. His medevacs are all out of energy as well.
It absolutely felt that Clem was counting on at least one of these armies being able to get a convincing victory somewhere, but it just wasn't possible. Cyan had storms left, right, and center, plenty of weapons available, and Cyan has honestly played a mighty fine game so far. And those 3 Colossians that you mentioned, they're about to all show up. And at that point, Clem is going to be like, oh, I've got actually 0 Vikings. The first Viking is on the way as he throws down the scan. I actually love to see Cyan maybe just test the waters immediately with the first 3 Colossus. I know that extended turbulence is not quite ready yet, but for a man who was like 3 minutes behind in upgrades and now actually being ahead in 2-2, and he's got Storm and he's got Colossus, this actually looks really promising.
Yeah, his army is awesome as Clem. He wants to try and buy just a bit more time because second starport is on the way. He is starting to get into Vikings, so he wants to now basically buy time himself, where before he was just trying to slow his opponent down. Now he really is like, okay, I need you to slow down. 3 more Colossus on the way up. So we're going to 6 Colossi. You're going to need those Vikings as Clem. I do feel it's a little bit overkill, though, because if Clem does get a counter up, then 2 of those Colossi are basically wasted supply.
I have to admit, I'm still a sucker for the 6 Colossus, Wardy. I've always been a fan. It brings me back to the Wings of Liberty days as we land a few more good storms there, and that's going to keep Clem's army at bay. I think Clem would love to be able to just steam into the natural ones and pick off those Robos, but Cyan is not giving him a single opening. We are going to get a fusion core, so maybe for some advanced ballistics. That's obviously always nice.
Yeah, it's a nice game from Cyan, right? Because we've ended up eventually on this awesome army. Dark Shrines coming through. He's where he wants to be in the late game. Taking the top left-hand corner, we'll see how that works out for him. But to be fair, the weirder bases have been fine so far.
Yep, he has honestly played a very mature game. Didn't even, like, one moment is like, oh, you're being aggressive with like 2 Zealots, 5 Stalkers, an Archon, and 2 High Templars, but he never committed, kept those units alive, and he just kept on expanding. He has always hung on to a little worker lead until now. War Prism comes in. We're gonna get a couple of good storms on the bio once more, and Clem is forced to run away through a couple of Zealots. Did manage to kill a few probes in the midst of all of this, as that Raven is still being proper annoying in the main base, but it is important for Cyan that he doesn't get too trigger happy, right? Because every now and then he's like, okay, you've got storms, but then he kind of overstorms on a couple of units that are going to run away anyway. Yeah,
some of his spellcasting's been, like you say, a bit trigger happy, especially like batteries even, right? Have been supercharging real quick. As you see additional ghosts coming up. Clem really got caught in that fight. Like, he was like, oh, probes on the way to the top left, and then the army was there, and it felt like Clem wasn't quite ready for that to be a thing, as he is going to contest for this watchtower once more. This is going to be a really important watchtower, because obviously it kind of puts the difference, or it spots the space between Cyan's bases. You really don't usually see this situation.
Nope, and it obviously gives Clem vision on the War Prism movement, right? And that's very important, because imagine if the Vikings can take a weird angle and gun down that prison before the High Templars get out, then it's going to be very difficult for Cyan to suddenly win a fight. He's still building Colossus, and it's kind of nuts. He's got 8!
He's got
8, and he's going up to 9!
Oh my goodness, 17 pros just go down, and this top left base is getting blasted.
That's pretty good, though. That means more supply for more Colossus.
More Colossus.
I want to see 10 Colossus. Let's go, lasers.
Clem's like, yeah, this seems like a good amount of Vikings. And he's like, wait, how many Colossus have you got? This looks unreal.
Yeah, I know. I think pure Marauders would do pretty good here, but I guess that's where the Storms will come in handy. Storm is not great against Marauders, but obviously if Colossus are wailing away at them too, and then maybe 1 or 2 Immortals, as the first few Dark Templars have shown up, 1 EMP does land though, and yeah, it's hard to have enough anti-air when you've got 9 Colossus.
I know, it's like, can you ever stop building Vikings in this scenario? Clem is adding the Liberator on. He gets the Prism. That's a massive catch as he's got potential EMPs going down here as well. Archon's melting, and now these Colossus are going to start dropping quickly, and Clem is getting so much value. Science supplies below 150 out of nowhere. That was a dreadful couple moments, and Clem taking some very responsible engagements for himself.
Yep, and now we start warping in Zealots, which is not really a sign that you want to see when you're already losing fights. Zealots are great for run-bys and dealing some damage, maybe buying some time for yourself, and in that way it's okay. But you're obviously going to need to make your army a little bit better. I think this is one of these moments where maybe there's a bit of pressure as well, or some nerves taking the best of Cyan. Because I don't hate the 6 Colossus. Yeah, it's a bit much, but, you know, I'm not a hater. 8 Colossus, I'm like, all right, now we're maybe pushing it, but 10 is obviously too many.
Well, Roddy, if you have 9 Colossus and you lose 2, you still have 7, so, you know, you're still rocking that kind of 6 number. Maybe that's part of the thinking. A little bit crazy. Obviously, Stalker's up here as well. Like that Cyan's getting aggressive in a couple places. That's only going to benefit him here as we blink through, we get a couple more units, and yeah, these Stalkers are being very annoying, although you don't really want to be losing them because you still need some anti-air against the Vikings.
It's got a lot of gas in the bank as well. I mean, I know it's very easy to say like, oh, just warp in a lot of High Templars, make Archons, but the ghost count is quite high. So yeah, sure you can make 10 Archons, but are they really going to make your army a whole lot better? The answer is often no. Definitely would like to see him just have a couple of random High Templars scattered around the map, just to land those occasional lucky storms, or just feedback the hell out of a couple of ghosts.
Yeah, Clem again just trying to find a way into the bottom left-hand side.
This is so nice for Vikings, by the way.
Yeah. Nice little EMP, just softening it up, gets a snipe off as well. So Clem really finding again just some free unit pickoffs and getting set to maybe pick a fight. He really has the map control to choose the fight as DTs are going to hit the right side.
Does he have Shadow Strike?
Yes,
he does. And +3 attack. And that normally means goodbye Planetary Fortress. There aren't too many SCVs. And that dies so quickly.
Yeah, the one SCV like returns some minerals like, yeah, that's pretty much all I can do. Again, a warning storm, but that was a double storm again, right? Like, every time it feels like he's just dropping one more than needed.
We are playing this game on US West, so that's obviously, this is kind of tricky for both. I mean, we all prefer offline StarCraft over online StarCraft. This wasn't quite possible yet. So, of course, both players playing this game with quite a bit of lag.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate, especially like China versus Europe, because there's not really the best. The US West is like the best in between, right? It's like the best you can do. So finally getting the fight. He scans for the
That Marine is like, trust me, Clem, I've got this. Throw down a scan. Clem is like, are you sure? This seems like a waste. Like, I've got it. Didn't quite have it.
One DT here could do with being scanned, and it will go down now as Clem again, just a lot of posturing. DT's top left, as that's where Cyan's looking to expand once again. That single Marine is going to actually get the probe here, so getting a little probe kill, denying the base for the moment. But here come the Dog Temple. No. Misses. Oh dear, where do you go? Nowhere, really.
You're kind of dead. All of these DTs are gonna go down. Another scan will go down. Maybe one Dark Templar can get out, but Clem is not taking any prisoners today. He will take out all of them. War Prism shows up, takes a lot of damage immediately. Prism somehow still lives. All 3 High Templars get out, and they actually land some storms too on the Marauders. That should have been a disaster for Cyan, but it actually worked out decently.
Yeah, this is getting a bit awkward though, because now you can see Cyan's units just running into a choke. The Disruptor only hits the Marauder. Clem's army's coming in from the left-hand side, so he's going to come in from the bottom side. Liberators are here, and suddenly you're kind of forced to fight as Cyan. There's no way out. The EMPs have got rid of the Archons. Disruptors come flying, but they hit absolutely nothing. And Clem's army is melting Colossi. Disruptors are dying, and Cyan has absolutely nothing left over. Got himself stuck in a corner, pinned in by Liberators.
War Prism goes down as well with the Disruptors, and that's obviously a game-deciding fight. It's been 20 minutes of pretty cool action. How is that Raven still around?
How many kills on the Raven?
Yeah, I'd actually love to see that too, as we have a decent storm landing on a couple of these units. 18, but it's also a lot of lost mining time throughout the game, right? That Raven has been properly annoying. Battery overcharge is really good, but not good enough to stop this overwhelming Terran force. I think Cyan knows it. Clem even fires up a nuke, by the way.
He's like, all right, here we go. This is my time. More Liberators sieging up. I mean, Clem really ended up on his own ultimate army as well.
Yeah.
And honestly, in the end, I feel like the Colossi hurt Cyan, right? Because he missed the timing where a lot of Colossi would have been scary, and then they just don't do enough in that fight where they get targeted down too quickly, they're EMP'd. He could have done with so many more support units. Of course, it wasn't a good position anyway, but Definitely didn't help as GG is called. Clem takes the 1-0. The first victory of the series.
Yeah, a couple things went weird there, buddy.
Yeah.
Lights going on and off, I couldn't hear you. But I actually think as well, once you see that big army of Clem coming in from the bottom near the Zondaiger Watchtower, running through liberation zones is almost never going to work out. Like, it actually would have been better to just retreat towards the top left, maybe try to fire Nova to buy time. You still have that prism there at first, so warp in some extra units. Just whatever you can, force Clem to run into you, because these two armies, they interact in a funny way, but basically the one person that runs into the other army is going to be at a very big disadvantage. And if the Liberators are already set up, big EMPs landing, yeah, that's not even a fight, and it really wasn't a fight, right? It was a wash. Clem just basically took out everything, lost a couple units.
I mean, that's kind of what Clem was playing for a long time. He was really patient in this game himself, you know? He really just waited and waited. He had like one bad fight, like one dip, but otherwise, just more and more army. And obviously, eventually, he was able to take this into a situation where the fight is just brutal, right? And he just has so much, wins out completely.
I want to go back to that moment where he had his first 3 Colossus and there were 0 Vikings. There was 1 Viking on the way. I actually would have loved to see him just F2 at that point, send everything to the other side.
I thought that was the plan, right? You catch him off guard. That's the power of triple Robo. Suddenly 3 Colossi are there, and Clem, maybe you saw the Robos a bit early, but that was about it. Yeah, no, that was definitely one of the better moments. This part of the game was nice from Cyan. Really survived on those storms for a long time. Yeah, just never did anything with what he invested into.
Nope, I would have loved to see it. Almost felt that he just thought he was going to build a better army. I mean, the Liberators here were already set up. The Stalkers are obviously very exposed. Marauders just shooting at them. Clem with some beautiful splits, by the way, on the bio, underneath all the Vikings. Pretty crazy, hectic fight, but Clem just knows that he doesn't even need to worry about the Vikings. He doesn't need to worry about the Liberators. They're going to do that job. Just make sure that you don't lose all your bio units to 1 or 2 of those Novas. But yeah, I would have loved to see Cyan just be like, all right, I've got 2 Colossus, even almost 3, because one of them was a bit later than the other 2. Just run into the natural, force Clem to take a fight there. I don't say he's going to win the fight in Clem's natural, but there's a good chance that a lot of SCVs will go down in multiple bases, that a lot of scrappiness appears, and that's also a great moment to then start warping in those Dark Templars, then go for more Zealot run-bys, and maybe actually find like a catastrophic amount of damage. But now we just kind of sat there at 3 Colossus, 6, 8, 10. It's like, well, it's going to be hard to take a good fight now, mate.
He lost 2, and I checked the count, I was like, still 7. It honestly looked funny watching them go across the map. I don't think I've seen that amount of Colossus since like 2011,
yeah,
maybe?
Wings of Liberty, it was good. It was the ideal number. Anything below 8 was wrong in Wings of Liberty, guys. But Colossus were, believe it or not, a lot better than they currently are, and they're still very, very good units. Anyway, this man definitely put up one hell of a fight, and that's kind of what we predicted, right? We hyped him up. He is a good player. He's been very active over the last few weeks, and he is the Chinese representative at the DreamHack StarCraft 2 Masters Winter 2021 Season Finals. This is Cyan.
In the top right-hand corner of Glitter and Ashes, we've got the Red Terran player from Team Liquid. This is Clem.
You pronounce the map name so sophisticated, Waddy.
You know, Roddy, I did a whole TLMC and this map stayed intact. And you do one pylon show and it all falls apart.
Really? Is it on me?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I've heard some player interviews. I don't think it's on me.
I think they watched the pylon show.
I wonder if Cyan is going to play Stargate here. This is obviously a very big map, and I've seen him play Stargate, and I actually think he's pretty good with it. Like just the traditional Phoenix opener, maybe 1 Oracle into Phoenix, then followed up with a Twilight. And that is something that Clem every now and then struggles with, because sometimes Clem commits a little bit too much to the 2 base, but then it's not an all-in. Like Clem is not the guy to really pull the boys on 2 bases, but then he makes a dedicated attack, and if you then get swarmed by Phoenixes and Zealots, and the Proto stabilizes on 3 bases while your 3rd CC is only going down, it actually becomes very hard, even if your name is Clem. So I wonder if we're going to see Cyan play some Phoenix here.
I would like it. I think that's what you want to do as well. Contain Clem, don't let him get away with it. Kind of get very comfortable yourself. And then, yes, Clem just played a very responsible kind of later game, but I do feel like that's where you kind of want to be as Cyan. I don't think Clem's going to let you do anything really weird early, and I think if anything, Clem's going to be the one that kills you early.
Reactor has already gone down for Clem, so both games not a Reaper opening coming out of the Frenchman. Actually, I don't know how much is known about some of the videos that we're going to show over the next few days. I think it's been public, right?
The series?
Yeah?
Yeah, they put the teaser out, so...
Alright, so we're going to show a little bit of the signature series of Clem throughout this event. We already saw a little bit of it backstage. It looks awesome.
Yeah, we all sat around, like everyone went quiet. The most we watched something all weekend. And then halfway through, they just stopped it. And we were like, no, we have to wait as well.
We even turned the volume up. We're like, we want to see this now. It's really cool. I'm so happy to have the Signature Series back. For the people who are new to StarCraft 2, that is something that we used to do in the build-up to BlizzCon, where there's basically a camera crew going to the houses of some of these pro gamers around the world and have a little sit down with them, walk them around, or film them while they're walking around their city, interview with their parents. It's just really cool, unique content.
Yeah, it really gives you like the backstory of the players and like just in a very well-produced way, right?
Yeah. It's beautiful, it's epic, and also like sometimes I realize that we're obviously in a very luxurious position because we interact with these guys a lot, so we kind of know them. But for the people at home, they actually get to see so much more of the players than just the guy after a series where we ask him some questions about the game, or maybe they stream a little bit. But I think these kinds of video pieces are just awesome. They're very well produced. Can't wait for you guys to see it.
Absolutely, as here comes the Reaper in the end, so you actually invested that into late. And comes in, confirms his Twilight Council, gets a probe, and then there's... Okay, he just sticks around, so... Just gonna keep that Stalker there as long as possible. Maybe thought he could do something with the Hellion, he cannot. But yeah, I mean, information gathered from Clem, that's absolutely fine, that's what the Reaper is for. As he drops down a second Rax, and there's the Raven to spend his gas.
Yeah, what I would have liked about Stargate, I know some people think I'm obsessed with Stargates, and I am when I play myself, definitely not when I'm casting, is that when you go up against someone like Clem, you know how annoying Clem is going to be once he's got a medevac behind your main base or in between your main and your natural, and where he's got a Raven, because you're just not going to touch it. We saw it on 2K Atmosphere. That was an 18-19 minute game. That Raven's still alive, 19 kills throughout the game. Obviously, maybe detected some observers once it joined up with the main army as well, and it forced you to pull probes over and over again, force you to make a couple of defensive warp ins. Like, I actually think these are some of the best things about Clem's gameplay. And if you can take that away by opening up Stargate, I don't want to say you handcuff him, but you do take away one of his strongest abilities, and that is just that he's proper annoying and he's very good at unit retention.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Unit retention. He is so good at it. It's something you can point out about Clem every single time. And yeah, the Phoenix take that away. You can't hide units in the corner. You can't just kind of chill and wait for the best possible moment. And yeah, I would agree with that as a hallucination. Doesn't see too much, but I mean, you pretty much know what's going on at this point. You see the Factor and the Starport are off of their add-ons. So the barracks are down, and we set ourselves up towards that big bio-timing push here a bit further down the road.
Yep, it is obviously a very big map, so Cyan should always be ready to at least deal with the first push. But what is important is that he takes a decent fight and then doesn't take any damage against the Raven, or hopefully he's not forced to make too many batteries and maybe cannons. But look at the timing on that first forge, by the way. That's a solid 3.5 minutes quicker than it was in 2K Atmosphere, and I like to see that. I
like that a lot, actually. That's definitely going to be helpful as we are getting set up into our gateways. We're getting set up into all of that unit production for Cyan again. There will be the Raven into his main base in a moment being annoying, as these Stalkers are going to be pushing the bunker a little bit. Clem accidentally pulled out gas, fixes that. And Clem's like, okay, you know what, take my bunker, all good. Cyan sees the Raven coming in, and Clem is going to get one probe right away. But again, it's the probe pull, it's the mining time loss, couple Stalkers at home already. And now Clem is starting to push across the map.
Yep. And now these Stalkers are obviously not in the center of the map, but you would like to have them so they can start shaving off some Marines. I mean, it doesn't have to be bad for Cyan, but these kinds of fights, you know that Clem is not going to make a mistake. Wow, very early Prism. This is kind of old school. We haven't seen this in a little while, as the Raven is now going to be annoying in the natural too. There's another probe pool, 2 probes going down. This ain't stopping anytime soon. Cyan still has 6 free supply, but he's like, you know what, I'm just going to build 3 pylons, because I want to start building Zealots for days. Clem is actually just chilling at home, isn't he?
Yeah, he did not move out. He just moved forward to protect the third base. Maybe he'll just load up a couple medevacs and go.
Yeah.
Maybe he's somewhat worried of Cyan being aggressive, of overwhelming his push, right? If he thinks Cyan knows about it. Maybe there's something he saw with the Raven as he gets more and more probes once again. Order turret is back, and it's just getting kills, man.
I'd build a Stargate right now just to get rid of this Raven, man. 7 kills already in a 7-minute game. Cyan is... I think Cyan was really anticipating an early move out of Clem, where Clem would basically grab almost all of his units, maybe leave 1 or 2 Marines behind, and that's when that early Prism can be awesome. Drop a couple Zealots on the low ground, they run into the third, maybe get a cancel, then they move forward into the natural, Prism goes into the main as well, and then Clem needs to micromanage things at home, but at the same time he needs to fight his army on the other side of the map, but Clem is like, no, I'm just not moving out, I'm just gonna sit here. And Cyan is like, oh, if you would have told me that before, man, I would have started Storm a long time ago and maybe get some more upgrades going, maybe even drop a Robo Bay for all I care.
Yeah, now he's going to show up with the Prism, and he sees an Unburrowed with a mine, decides that's enough for now for him to just back away and look for another opening a little bit further down the line.
Good little scout there, right on that Marine. So Clem saw that these gases were not taken yet, or at least not the right gas, but he also just gets a good idea that the army is pretty damn zealot heavy up to this point. And I think in a weird way this is a very uncomfortable game for Cyan. If he can get up to Storm, it's always great. But he clearly expected Clem to be a bit more aggressive, Clem to move out a bit more than what he actually did. As another auto turret goes down, one probe will fall, second probe almost falls. A couple of zealots running into the main force. I mean, Clem's army is monstrous, man. That's 97 army supply. Storm is only halfway done, Wardy. I think I'm very worried here for Cyan, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can scare Clem a little bit by faking with the Prism, being like, oh, look, I'm going to drop the storms, but yeah, if Clem figures out that Cyan is faking or just gets into the fight and the storms still aren't dropping, that's going to be bad for Cyan. As a couple of Widow Mines going to go off here, so that's a defense immediately. Few seconds until Storm, but Clem's getting into a better and better position, I believe, getting up this ramp a little bit, and I mean, Storm is done, but now you still have to land those storms. A couple of force fields available, and Clem not committing in, playing it calmly and patiently, and now he sees that flank coming.
Perfect defense against a little zealot run by right. It's pulled back behind the mines, let the mines deal splash damage. That's 6 or 7 zealots that will just get caught in the center of the map. And at this point, Cyan is like, why don't you just run up my ramp so I can drop some great storms? And Clem is like, no, we're not going to play that game. If you want to drop your storms, you're going to have to fly into me. But it's actually so scary to fly into this Terran army because I'm looking at 5 or 6 Widow Mines that are burrowed there.
Yeah, I mean, Clem honestly just playing a very patient game. He's not doing anything that might win, but might also lose in the game. And just sort of making the pickoffs. Here we go. Yeah, Cyan looks as though he's the one that wants to attack him, but he's just taking mine shots, and then he's like, oh god, I don't like that at all. So he backs up, but now Clem kind of knows, yeah, a bit out of position. The Zealots off to the side that aren't coming in, and just tries to push again, doesn't see an opportunity, but he knows the Zealots are coming across the map.
Once more, a very early battery overcharge. Feels like Cyan really expected Clem to commit this time. Clem did not commit yet. That is a proper run by though. That's a run by and a half. But if you have 1 or 2 mines left behind, and that's something that Clem had earlier, you're going to be fine there. Take a look at the units lost resource step. We can see that not a whole lot has happened yet, but Cyan has lost 1,500 resources more than Clem, and he hasn't really been outmining him in this game, Wardy.
Top left cells are being found right now as well, so that's not going to go pretty for Cyan. As, Widow Mine, Ghosts, it was just a massacre. So those zealots go down too, and we're almost doubling the army supply as Clem is. It's just little things that have added up to be a major issue for Cyan in this game. Yeah, he's in a brutal spot.
Clem has actually played a brilliant game where it just becomes so awkward for Cyan to transition. And I feel like Cyan has been stuck on the unit comp that he's currently on for way longer than he wanted to, just because he expected Clem to go for it. And Cyan is like, why don't you just commit, man? Why don't you run up this ramp so I can drop my storms and then I feel comfortable enough to drop my Robo and my Robo Bay? Well, there really is no cooldown on battery overcharge. There is another one going down, but this battery will get picked off. And Clem has a couple of High Templars in the mix. 1 EMP connects with 1 High Templar. And I don't really see how Cyan wins the fight.
No, I really don't. That storm doesn't even quite get the medevac it was on. I did think he might have finished off the 4th base there, but he sees the opportunity to deny production in the main, which is always going to be good. Denying the forge is fantastic. And Cyan is going to end up in even more trouble. A scan will get rid of these DTs if Clem has one available, even an EMP or so to help out. He does not drop it, so there's actually going to be a cleanup on this. But now he finally commits because the Prism's not in position, so he's just going to dive in with everything. Force fields will back him up just a moment or two, but man, it just feels as though Clem, who now moves across with this army to finish the 4th, he's been seeing it all game, just continues to make good moves, responsible moves, and just slowly edging into better and better spots. A couple decent storms there, but overall a lot of them. To not kill a lot.
There were Widow Mines there, and they connect at least with the War Prism, but some of the Prisms survives during all of this. 9 probes have gone down though, and the Raven is still annoying. We are finally going to kill the Ravens, and that's lovely.
Finally. I mean, it feels like we've been waiting 2 games for that.
yeah, that was the Raven of 2K, by the way.
It just took a while to fly over to Glitter and Ashes. Yeah, no, this is Clem just looking to move up the ramp again. He still has Widow Mines around as well, so he's already kind of set up as he moves into these positions. Coming down the bottom, a storm goes down, but he's already moving away from it. Now he's stormed down a Widow Mine. Well, that's not even a kill. So again, you just drop 2 storms and you have nothing to show for it. These medevacs, obviously not on the best of move commands, but
look a little F2 to me there.
Yeah, I think so too. But that's like the worst mistake Clem's made all game.
All best of 3.
All best of 3.
Still gonna give him a hard time over there. Clem, you have to a little bit there, mate. Clem is going to try to get up this ramp. We do still have plenty of storms available for Cyan, but obviously this game is not getting any prettier. If the Colossus count goes up, there is always some hope, because he does have a couple of Immortals too as a strong backline, but I don't think that Clem is going to give him a whole lot of time. The High Templars will run forward, another EMP connects, and it just feels that there isn't much to this Protoss army, but if we land one or more decent storms, some extra Zealots showing up, Cyan might actually be able to push his army back.
Yeah, he's out of splash damage until the Colossus shows up, though, and that's the issue, right? As the Bio Army's going to turn, it's 2-2 against 1-1. A missile turret was dealing damage to the Colossus as Clem is going to back away. Kind of a strange fight, like, it felt like it had multiple different stages to it. As, yeah, we kind of reset after that, and I think the big problem is Prism went down, there's no High Temple left. Okay, a couple Colossi coming through, but Clem, I don't think it's a big issue.
No thermal lens, by the way. That is something that we absolutely have to mention. And also 0 observers at this moment, as these Widow Mines should be able to get some decent shots. It's 6 probes. It could have been even worse, but there are 0 observers. Clem has just been killing them over and over again. I said what before, because that missile turret didn't just get a couple shots off. It was just firing away, man. It dropped that Colossus to 40% of its health.
It really did. It was doing so much damage. It's moving down the ramp. Couple Widow Mines. Firing, but not quite doing too much crazy. Of course, Clem just once again, as he's done all game long posturing, and now he's got Widow Mines that haven't been cleaned up over here. And you can see how Cyan is just continuing to fall behind. Good deal with this, though. I mean, he gets away, only 2 probes going down, but still not killed off.
No. We do have a couple of Dark Templars sneaking to the other side of the map that killed 4 SCVs in the natural. Unfortunately, this one gets absolutely nothing done. I feel like Clem is playing like one of the most mature TVPs I've seen of him in a long time. Because in the past, we've said like, okay, Clem is awesome, Clem's exciting, Clem's aggressive, but sometimes he pushes the issue a little bit too hard. I honestly feel that Clem is leaning back right now. It almost feels like, you know, he's asking his dad, what kind of baguette are we having tonight? You know, he's having a good time, and he's just containing his opponent, dropping some EMPs, outmaneuvering Cyan, kill EMPs the Prism, and fires it down as well with a couple of buy units. And this army of Cyan looks big, but it's really not that impressive. And these Marauders alone are going to have a field day against these Stalkers and Colossus.
Yeah, there's a couple of storms going down, and Clem actually backs off. I thought he might have just ran through, considering there was a single Colossus left, but I guess he's just playing too mature of a game for that, Roddy, and now he just comes back in. This base is a gunner, and so is Cyan. Tap